Let's now learn how to describe data using graphs and tables. Okay, so graphical, tabular, descriptive statistics. Before we do that, let's define a few things. So we define the frequency of a category as the number of times members of that category appear in the dataset. So given the information on frequency, we can calculate the relative frequency of a category by dividing frequency by the total number of observations. And then we can proceed to calculating the percent frequency right, of a category by taking relative frequency and multiply by 100. So once we have calculated these numbers, we can go ahead and construct the frequency, relative frequency, or percent frequency distribution. Okay, so what is this? This is just a table that shows frequency, relative frequency, or percent frequency of each non-overlapping category. Okay. Now, when we mention non-overlapping, all we are saying is that an observation belongs to one and only one category. So let's go ahead and look at an example. So here in this data set, I have a total of 135 students, right? and I have divided these students by majors. So I have finance majors, marketing majors, economics majors, accounting majors, and so on and so forth. Okay. In this column here, I have data on frequency. So in my data set, 36 of the 135 students are finance majors, 18 of the 135 students are marketing majors, 22 out of 135 are economics majors, and so on and so forth. In this column labeled relative frequency, I have 0.2667 as the value for finance, 0.1333 as the value for marketing, 0.1630 as the value for economics, and so on and so forth. How do I calculate these numbers? I calculate these numbers by taking the frequency and divide it by the total number of observations. So 0.2667 is just 36 divided by 135. 0.1333 is just 18 divided by 135. 0.1630 is just 22 divided by 135, and so on. Okay. In this last column that I labeled percent frequency, I have 26.67 for finance, 13.33 for marketing, 16.30 for economics, and so on. I get each of these numbers by taking relative frequency. So I'm taking this column and multiply by 100 to get the percent frequency. So it's pretty straightforward. Right? So now let's talk about bar charts. A bar chart looks something like this. Okay. So for a bar chart, you have on your x-axis the different categories. So I had finance, right? Then I had marketing, econ, and other majors, right? On the y-axis, I can have either frequency, relative frequency, or percent frequency. Most often, you would have frequency on the y-axis, okay? And all you have to do is to draw a bar that indicates the number of times members of that category appear in the dataset for each of the categories, right? So in finance, we have 36. So let's draw a bar for finance and label 36 on top, just to convey that there are 36 finance majors in the dataset. For marketing, we have 18, so that's about half of 36. For econ, we have 22, so it's a little higher than the bar for marketing. Okay, and you do that for the rest of the other categories or the other majors. So that's a bar chart. We also have a notion of a pie chart. So we use pie charts to depict percent frequency. Okay, so I misspelled that word. Should be percent frequency. Right? So we have for this type of chart, we start off with a circle, okay, and we start with this. Okay. Re- Recall that we have 26.67% of the observations being finance majors. So all I have to do is to draw that part. This is 26.67, and then you have a label to indicate to people that this is finance, right? So the finance is the part of the pie that is dotted. We have 13% that is marketing majors. So this is 13.33%, and I'm gonna have this being marketing. Then I have 16% being economics majors. Okay, so this is 16.30%, and you do that for the rest of the categories, right? You keep going. So I'm just gonna say etc. Um, so I'm gonna have a label for economics. Okay. So in this video, we defined frequency, relative frequency, and percent frequency. We looked at an example of a frequency distribution, and then we learned how we can use bar charts and pie charts to depict the information from the frequency distribution.